Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're opening up the Artworks catalog to unpack a genuinely fascinating, deeply layered 2023 generative practice by the artist SurR.Ai. We're going to be focusing specifically on Gate-I, the power of destiny.
Before anything was minted, there was a translation. SurR.Ai's Gate-I, the power of destiny, begins with the artist rendering Avvasalam Podvodny's Russian Bill of Rights into English, one careful sentence at a time. Everything else flows from that. You see, the very first topic, the right to stand before God and be accountable for one's life, well, that became the explicit foundation for Gate-I. In this translation, it wasn't just some casual afterthought. It was deliberate, invisible labor. The language was meticulously worked so it could function faithfully to that original Russian text while also acting as a precise generative seed for literally everything that would follow.
So, to truly understand how this work was made, we have to look at the timeline. After that initial translation, the artist actually composed multiple candidate poems. Those unselected poems then informed the generative visual phase, which led to a 4-second video created using a stable diffusion video pipeline. Now, this is absolutely crucial. That video was generated and minted first, back in April 2023. It definitively holds chronological and artistic primacy. It was only later, when the published backstory actually required a featured image, that a still frame was extracted from the video and minted as a secondary companion piece.
Section 1. The literary object, a canonical poem.
Before any visuals existed, a single poem was selected from all those candidates to serve as the canonical text. And we really have to approach this not as a mere prompt, but as a pure literary object. It's written in the slightly archaic English register, intentionally placing it within the continuous apophatic tradition. That's the tradition of speaking about the absolute by refusing to name it, running right from the metaphysical poets through William Blake and into T.S. Eliot. So, to honor the weight of this artifact, we're going to recite the whole thing right now. In cosmic realms where planets wend, a greater force we shall transcend. To plead our case, our truth defend, before the azure, judgment send. Notice how that archaic monorhyme, wend, transcend, defend, send, operates there? It's a completely deliberate, closed sonic structure that immediately establishes the solemnity of this threshold encounter.
The clock of life, its ticking hand, relentless, bold, we cannot stand. It carves our paths, designs our fates, as spectral orbs our hearts berate. It is just fascinating how time functions in this Klubnikovian register. By giving the clock the active agency to carve our paths and design our fates, time actually breathes as a structural ontological force, shaping destiny itself.
A cosmic trial, so vast and wide, each soul must face, no place to hide. A karmic balance weighs our deeds to answer for our earthly creeds. Listen to that rhyme pairing of deeds and creeds. The karmic balance so elegantly collapses the distance between what we do down here on Earth and what we profess to believe. In swirling galaxies of time, we are but whispers, notes in rhyme. And to the stars our echoes send, the acts of life we must amend. The soul is literally just a whisper, totally dwarfed within these vast, swirling galaxies of time. And yet, its actions ripple all the way up to the stars.
Beneath the cosmic canopy, a higher power waits for thee, to judge your steps, to weigh your worth, a reckoning for your mortal birth. Now this stanza right here perfectly honors that apophatic limit we talked about. The absolute is never named directly. It is simply and powerfully referred to as a higher power waiting beneath the cosmic canopy.
So live with grace, embrace the light, for cosmic forces watch the night. In realms unknown, our fates are sealed, to stand before the great revealed. This is the absolute crux of the literary argument. The poem doesn't end on the word judged, or condemned, or redeemed. No, it lands with heavy, heavy emphasis on revealed. The ultimate encounter isn't about punishment. It's one of pure visibility, the soul claiming the right to simply be seen exactly as it is.
Section 2. The primary visual artifact, sustained generative sequence.
All right, having grounded ourselves in that canonical literary object, let's transition into the visual realm. As we established earlier, the primary visual artwork of Gate-I is the video produced through a stable diffusion video pipeline. The still image that you often see accompanying it, that is merely a single documentary frame frozen in time. And this brilliantly illustrates the composition's architecture. We can actually deconstruct the visual field into 3 distinct vertical registers. Up top, in the upper register, we see the Council of Watchers. They represent a plural witness, kind of akin to the Russian Orthodox concept of sobernost. Right in the middle register, resting at the horizon, is the threshold holding the cosmic eye. And then down below in the lower register lies the densely packed, jewel-toned metropolis representing Entroph, the dense, everyday plane of mortal life.
But you know what that still frame completely misses is the work's defining characteristic, the signature shimmer. Over its 4-second duration, the video sustains this constant, unresolved visual instability. The Council of Watchers subtly shifts, the cosmic eye pulses, and the cityscape continuously morphs. This shimmering is generated natively by the model, frame by frame. It's a highly deliberate, specific parameter configuration discovered by the artist. And the exact settings? Well, they're intentionally kept under wraps. They function as a sign method, the unmistakable visual mark of SurR.Ai's hand that firmly separates this piece from other contemporary generative outlets.
Section 3. The artistic method, transposition and separation.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the rigorous artistic method underneath it all, specifically the Klebnikov in English transposition and the prompt poem separation principle. SurR.Ai carefully transposed structural literary principles into English. But remember those multiple candidate poems the artist wrote? The one chosen for publication stayed completely pure as a literary object. The unselected sibling poems didn't just end up in the trash, though. Fragments and phrases from them were repurposed to become the actual generative prompts fed into the visual generator. So the published poem and the generative prompts are entirely separate entities. This is a brilliant move because it completely protects the literature while making the visual artwork totally impossible to reverse engineer. So again, we must honor the labor. Just look at these layered steps. This artwork is absolutely not the result of casually typing a sentence into an algorithm. Not at all. It required translating a 1990 Russian esoteric text, composing multiple historically styled poems, inventing the prompt poem separation principle, dialing in and reserving the signature shimmer technique, and finally, the curatorial matching of visuals to text. The artifacts we see today are the results of massive exploratory output.
Finally, we have to acknowledge the visual lineage inscribed right into the work's DNA from the very beginning. SurR.Ai's 2023 digital practice is in a direct, explicit dialogue with the Russian avant-garde of 1917, specifically with Olga Razanova. Her late paintings, known as Tsvitopis, or transfigured colorism, completely abandoned objects so that luminous color could generate its own light suspended in atmospheric space. Those jewel-toned, saturated, edgeless color fields you see in the Gate-I video, they belong entirely to this tradition. This wasn't some clever retrospective connection added years later. Razanova's Tsvitopis was inscribed into the generative inheritance from day one.
The 7 final pairings published in April 2023 are the matches that landed. The video came first. The still was a frame. The poem was a choice. Olga Razanova's color sense was already in the room.